evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to meet with all of us today. And man, as we had mentioned earlier, James Reed with Invested Capital, we fund, build, and manage self-storage and flex-based developments. And I thought I'd give a little bit story too about my background real quick, because I think all of us have a unique backstory. Thankfully, I've had a beautiful family here in Missouri and a great team that supports us on our everyday operations. I just really enjoy working with my staff and even parts of my family as well throughout the business. And a little bit of backstories too. I was a landscape contractor for many years. Was cutting grass when I was about 13 years old. Hired my friend who was 16 to drive us around town to pick up more lawns. And by the time I got through high school, I bought my first piece of property where I built a nursery garden center. And unfortunately, in 2010, I was living there and working there, and one evening it caught fire. I lost my house, my business overnight, and thankfully, I had a coach that called me and said, "James, I'm sorry to hear about your fire, but I have a storage facility that you can use at no cost." And so when I was in this storage facility, I realized there's a lot of ways to help someone, divorce, loss of loved ones, disaster, disease. Typically, someone needing storage, we all go through life transitions, and storage is a vehicle that people use typically during these transitions. So it gave us a great opportunity to help others, just as it helped me back in 2010. And as I was in this storage facility, I was looking at the walls, and concrete walls or concrete floor or concrete or on the metal walls, very simple, but a lot of money to be made. And it was a way for us to help people and create wealth. And what's great about storage is diversification, the different unit sizes that we create from climate to non-climate, the resilience. As you all know, we all go through things in life, both great times and bad times, and storage is always there to support and supply storage needs for clients. In the demand, it continues to grow in our communities, in our country. We're always needing more space. We're typically building smaller homes as well. And so the demand continues to grow for self-storage. And for us, the added value from conversions to phasing to different income streams at the store level. And so throughout all that time since 2010, we've been building out companies to kind of support this vision of helping communities and continue to grow our storage portfolio. And the one we have today, Anne Marie mentioned that we just built this. Dennis is on the call as well. We opened our store here in June of 2024, right along Interstate Highway 70 and Interstate 70 and Highway 79 here in the video. And what we're offering today during this offering, it's an opportunity to invest. Our goal is just to provide investors opportunities throughout self-storage and flex developments. And this one here today is our St. Peter's storage. We're offering a 13 to 15% preferred return on 3.1 million. And what we're doing is we had a higher risk profile initially involved with our investment for the capital of the development. Now we're shifting over to more of a lower risk. We've taken some of the risk out from the development. Now we're well along on our lease up. You'll hear in a moment, we're already 75% from a square footage lease up. So we're going very well on our projections. And our goal is to continue to build out this portfolio. Thankfully, with our developments, there's a lot of opportunities for expansion as well. And we do a hub and spoke model where we have one location and then continue to build around there. I mentioned earlier, we opened up in June of 24. We're at 75% square footage and about 52% on the unit count. And we love this location because it's only about 5 miles from our main location. And we kind of built this location off of a waiting list. And so I believe that's also why it's driven so much occupancy just in a short period of time as well. And we keep this very simple. This is just a 3-year term. We're going to continue leasing up the asset. Once we stabilize, we'll do a cash out refi for our investors as well. And you can see here the tiered between the 13 to 15% based on the capital invested within our vehicle. And then just some other photos you can see here on the left-hand side. We had a really nice grand opening. And yes, if you can kind of see through the crowd there, we had a monster truck that came out and was actually crushing cars on our parking lot. It was really, really neat to bring people together. I'm very involved with the community. I think it's great to get people together and understand that this isn't just a normal business. We're a storage facility that really cares about our community because we know that every community, people are going through things in life, and we want to bridge that gap. And how do we bridge that is we keep things simple. We at times we're able to able to give away one of our trucks for use for move-ins. You can see in this other photo is our kiosk. We're very heavy on the technology side as well. You can use your phone to log in or check in or come in and talk to one of our managers on site. And so we don't want to miss a sale. Our goal is to help someone move in as quick as they can, because it's a stressful process to move into a storage when there's something going on in your life. And a little bit more, St. Peter's is a suburb of St. Louis. We have different larger corporations in our marketplace. And you can see one of our photos here. Our headquarters is just about 5 miles away in O'Fallon, Missouri. And I drive by this facility almost every day. I live about 15 minutes from it. So it's just down the road from my house as well. And our team, I think that's the big piece that we're doing, that we're not just raising money, we're actually investing, we're building. Our team is on the ground. We're actually doing the marketing, leasing up the facility. What's great about this investment is you can stop in at any point and talk to any of our staff members, ask them questions. We'd love for you to come out and visit. We also have a tour coming up soon as well, actually on site, so you can actually see where your investment dollars are going to as well. And as I mentioned here, our team in the photo here, that we just continue to grow internally throughout our market. And I just believe it's important to have boots on the ground to continue to watch the assets and continue to manage. I mentioned earlier, invested capital. We have several different companies to support our vision and our mission of supporting and growing our communities wherever we invest. I'll go a little bit further in that in a moment as well. Storco Storage is our third-party management that we own in-house. As I mentioned earlier, you can stop in at any store, talk to any manager and ask them questions. We can tell you every square inch of this property, how it's performing, what we're doing with the marketing and lease up of our facilities. And it's great because we can move much quicker when it's in our control. We're able to make and pivot where needed to make those changes to continue to grow our facilities and occupancy in the marketplace. As mentioned earlier, we were able to acquire BBI Constructors. They're a national GC that specializes in warehouse, self-storage, and flex-based developments. It's been a great acquisition, where we're able to control cost, timing, build these near cost. So we have a lot less basis in what it's worth after we do the construction of that process. And we keep our strategy very simple. We have new development, conversions, and acquisitions. And one of our favorite ones is the conversions, where we're able to buy these way below replacement costs and then convert them into self-storage. And with new development, we're able to take the market study and really build exactly what the communities are needing. That way we have a much stronger lease up, and we're picking locations that are very hard barriers of entry to keep our competitors away as long as we can for that as well. When it comes to new development, we like larger properties. The reason why is we're able to phase in different aspects of the property. In this case here, we both have self-storage, flex, and boat and RV storage. And it gives us an opportunity to phase into the approach. That way we're not overwhelming the market with so much supply. We're actually able to phase this in. It also gives us additional exits. If we don't use all the property, we can sell that off as well to another developer in the area for retail or another use. I had mentioned earlier, this was a conversion. We bought a trampoline park that we converted into a 2-story Class A storage facility, and it's done wonders. It's got also some retail income, an additional outlot that we can sell as well at a later date. And then just a few photos of our portfolios. We do build them to the sense to at some point exit to a REIT. So we have certain things that we're looking to build, from the quality to the size. We kind of understand their buy box. And with construction wise, we build for the publicly traded REITs. So we're able to kind of understand and share notes, what they're building, what they're looking for. So if we go to ever sell one of these, we know that we're going to sell to a larger REIT. And that's why we continue to drive value in the perspective of what they're looking for when it comes time to sell as well. And I wanted to leave some room here. I gave a really high level, why we got into storage, what we're doing as a company, our team involvement. And I know that Nate will be talking elsewhere too about ways that you can diversify your assets and into a vehicle like self-storage. And I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of get to know us a little bit more as a team, what we're doing, but would love to be able to ask more questions. We have a QR code as well where you can get all this and plus some on or even schedule a call to talk with our team. The end of the day, we want you to enjoy the process of investing with us, knowing that this isn't just another investment, but we're actively in the marketplace looking to make difference and building a product that's value and continue to build upon that value with our team, our marketing, and our development pipeline. So, Ann, I'd love to open this up for questions. I know some may have some in the Q&A as well, but also the QR code is a great way just to kind of be plugged in with more opportunities. Maybe this isn't the right time, but you like what we're doing. The QR code is a great place to just a few informations, and we can keep you plugged in of our future pipeline of investments as well.
So if you have questions, you can submit them through chat, or if you'd like through Q&A, because we're keeping an eye on both of them, or you can just raise your hand and you can verbally say your question. James, when people say that self-storage is inflation resistant, what do they mean? What does that mean?
The great thing about self-storage is it's the leasing, right? We're month-to-month leases. So as the market shifts, we're able to do rate increases and adjust those rates so we can make sure that we're planning for that inflation. We're planning for that change in the market conditions. We're not locked into a 1 year, 4 year contract. It gives us that flexibility. And that's one of our strategies is to continue to raise rents within our client base to continue driving revenue within the marketplace.
Great. And that being inflation resistant, it's also recession resistant and has the lowest foreclosure rate of any real estate asset class, doesn't it?
It does. And it was interesting when I was after I lost my house and my business to the fire and I was in the storage unit, I started researching it and I was like, how can it be this good? Like it's basic construction. It's got the lowest default rate. It's very well scalable. It's great cash flow. I'm like, this is amazing. And so I'm thankful for the fire. I mean, I think that God uses all of us in different situations to kind of bring good things out. And I'm thankful that I had someone lend me this great gift of storage for a period of time to help me through that challenging time in my life. And now I'm trying to give back, utilizing it in a way to help others as well.
Are there other questions from participants? Or are we ready to bring on I think if there is a question, it was just popped in, maybe? One open question. Flex space, is that your new favorite asset? That's Timothy James. Thanks for the question, Timothy. James, what do you say?
So, yeah, no, I think Flex is another very great asset. We've gotten pretty heavy in Flex as well. When looking at storage, some of our best clients have been commercial clients. They run small businesses, but they need larger units than what you typically find in a storage facility. And this property in itself actually has 12 Flex units on one side. And so part of our client base is actually catered towards more of the commercial tenant. And so I do believe that flex space is another great asset that we're also investing in, constructing in. We're still very happy with self-storage. The fundamentals are there. But I do think that the flex is just another asset that we're exploring to dive deeper in as well. But that's a great question. And this asset that we're talking about tonight has flex as well. It's just a small piece of the puzzle, but it is a great revenue generator for us. That's a great question.
That flex space filled up fast, didn't it, at St. Peter's?
2 months it filled up the flex side of the property, and so it's been good. And I guess to talk about that too on this investment, we have both self-storage, flex, and boat and RV on the lower lot, and so we're really reaching a very large demographic within our community. And where we built this was on the corner of a very high traffic highway. We got Interstate 70 and Highway 79, so it reaches a lot of people in our community. And I think that's another driving force that we continue to get drive-by traffic from commercial to residential, the people traveling with their boat and RVs. And so I've been very pleased with this entire development. And to be able to tap into it now, it takes about a year for entitlement and construction. We're well along on our lease up. So I think it gives a great opportunity for maybe someone who's stepping into storage investments. This would be a great first one to get into.
Yeah, it's a great first taste of storage. And how about if we pivot now to Nate Hare? Nate, we welcome you to share your screen.
I'm here. Okay,
Hi. Hi.
hi.
Fantastic.
Hi. Let me go and share my screen and just let me know when
Great.
you're ready.
Thank you. We're ready. Go for it.
Okay, so let's tie in everything that James just went over to a retirement account. And this is the exciting stuff, at least for me. And let me just tell you how I came across self-directed IRAs because it was completely by chance. I did not go to school to teach people how to use retirement accounts. I did get right into real estate investing right out of college. I always wanted to be a real estate investor. I like the idea of, owning income producing property, very similar to self-storage. And I was in the real estate field, mortgage broker, had my real estate license with Keller Williams. I was in that field for 8 years. My expertise, my knowledge base was all in real estate. I made good money in real estate. And I was told, condition maybe is a better term, that I needed a retirement account. But the way that I was conditioned to think about my retirement account is that you just set up a 401k or an IRA with a company. You just make your contributions to that, and then somebody else invests it for you, and they invest it in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's all I really knew about retirement accounts. Now, meanwhile, I had my retirement account with Northwestern Mutual. No offense to Northwestern Mutual, but I'd get my statements, and the only thing that really made my retirement account go up was the money that I put in there. It would go up and down and swing and all these things. And in 2012, I was called by a company out of Houston, Texas, to come bring my real estate experience to their company and teach people how to use retirement accounts to invest in real estate through what they called this self-directed IRA. And I really had to stop and think and go, well, hold on one second. An IRA can own real estate? I mean, I have 17 rental properties right now, all owned in my name as a taxpayer. They're making good money, but I pay taxes on every dime. Are you telling me that my account at Northwestern Mutual could own a rental property instead of all these stocks and bonds that I really know very little about? From that point on, I realized that I wasn't the only one that didn't know that. Everybody in my field, everybody that I worked with, nobody knew that you can use an IRA or a 401k or another retirement account to invest in other assets other than what we were sold through our Fidelities or Northwestern Mutual accounts. So from 2012 until now, so about 13 years, I've been actively teaching investors or just people with retirement accounts what is truly possible with a retirement account. Now, I don't sell investments, but I teach people how self-direction works, how a self-directed IRA works. And the shocking thing is, to me, is when you actually look at the numbers, and these are from recent audits as recent as last year, people that have the larger retirement accounts are the people by percentage that have more alternative assets in those retirement accounts than the average person. I'll go over some of those numbers, but this is just good information for anybody that wants to retire, whether you invest in alts or not. I think it is important to understand what are your options when it comes to your retirement account assets. So let's just jump into it. And again, a little bit about my background. I started in real estate. I actively use my own self-directed IRA to invest in real estate. I do it on a passive level. So I'll talk a little bit about what I do with my Roth IRA and my self-directed health savings account when we talk about the account types. But again, I find great passion in just teaching this to people because I find that it's not going to resonate with everybody, but there's about 10%, maybe 20% of people that go, wow, I didn't realize that I could do that. And that's really what I'm here to do is just share with you guys what is truly possible with a retirement account. And why is this important? Americans have more money in their retirement accounts than their bank accounts. That's not a shocker. What is a shocker is there's over $45 trillion in US retirement accounts. Now this slide's a little bit old, but 45 trillion with a T is what's in US retirement accounts. That's a makeup of 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans, TRS plans, TSP plans, IRAs. The more shocking number of the $45 trillion, and this is through IRS audits, only 2% of IRA account holders or retirement account holders own an alternative asset of any kind in their retirement account. Now, is that because they choose stocks over alternatives? No, it's because they don't even know they can own alternatives in their retirement accounts. You've been able to own the same things in your retirement account since retirement accounts were created. Ever since the mid-70s when IRAs were created, you can own almost anything inside of a retirement account. You just have to find a company that's willing to hold the asset inside of your retirement account. You always have a custodian in between you as the plan owner and the investment. So if you think about this, when you buy a stock in your Fidelity IRA, you don't own the stock, the plan owns the stock. The plan is a tax-exempt trust. You put money in as a contribution, you tell Fidelity to buy it, buy whatever stock, they exchange your asset of cash in the IRA for an asset of a stock certificate, okay? But you can replace the word stock certificate with deed or contract or oil and gas rights or interest in self-storage facilities. You just have to find a custodian that's willing to hold the paperwork and show evidence that your IRA owns that said asset. And that's what we do at Directed IRA. We allow our clients to invest in what we call Main Street assets instead of Wall Street assets, but you always work the investment through us. Here are some of the investments that we hold. And when you look at the tax code, and this goes for the financial literacy expert, this is good to know. If you want to nerd out, you can go look at publication 590 of the IRS tax code and IRC 4975 if you really want to get nerdy. IRC 4975 tells us what we're not allowed to own in a retirement account. And the list is extremely short. There's only 2 investments on this planet that are not allowed inside of a retirement account. And it's life insurance contracts and collectibles. That's it. As far as what your retirement account owns, the IRS doesn't care. You can own anything you want. The biggest rule is you can't buy your own assets from your retirement account, but you can invest in other people's assets. And those assets can be stocks or bonds from Wall Street, or it can be buying a rental property inside of your IRA. It could buy land. Your IRA can own land, or your 401k can own land, precious metals, cryptocurrency, not a crypto ETF. I'm talking about your IRA can own Bitcoin. Your IRA can own Ethereum. You can invest in private businesses. So these are non-publicly traded businesses. If you want a really good success story for self-direction, Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal, he has a $7 billion Roth IRA. That is not from investing in stocks. That was from having his self-directed Roth IRA by Facebook stock when Facebook was still a private company. You guys have probably seen the movie on it when he makes that investment. That investment was actually made through his self-directed Roth IRA. That investment alone turned his Roth IRA into a $6 billion Roth IRA, which cannot be taxed by the IRS. So hats off to Peter Thiel on that. So that's investing an IRA into a private business, oil and gas, mineral rights, self-storage, which we're talking about today, tax lien certificates, private lending. That's what I do out of my IRA. These are all investments that can be owned inside of your retirement account. So if you want to invest in stocks and bonds, that's great. You use your Fidelity account and have them process those investments. But if you want to invest in anything on the right or anything that Fidelity won't invest your IRA into, you just work through a company like us. Fidelity holds stock certificates, we hold deeds. They hold bonds, we hold notes. It's just a different form of paperwork and a different process of buying those investments. Now, here's another interesting fact is you're allowed to have as many IRAs as you want. Most of my clients have an IRA with Fidelity and they still have an IRA with Directed IRA. This is what gives somebody, I would argue, true diversification. Most wealth advisors tell you diversification is having some high risk mutual funds, some medium risk mutual funds, and some low risk mutual funds. I would argue that's not proper diversification. That's still one asset class. You're just diversified under different stocks. Real diversification is holding some of those paper assets, but holding alternative assets because alternative assets allow for, I would say, more tangible investments. Real estate's like my desk. I can drive by and touch and feel a rental property owned inside of my retirement account. I know that the real estate market's not going anywhere. It has its ups and downs, but the asset, the underlying asset, is a tangible investment. It's not going to disappear. My stocks can disappear if I invest into the wrong companies. So it's important to understand that, yes, your IRA can own these alternative assets. You just have to work through a company like Directed IRA to facilitate the buying of the asset and the selling of the asset. Now, we call this self-directed IRAs, but when I get to the account types, self-directed is just a marketing term. An IRA directed IRA is no different than an IRA at Fidelity. We just don't have investments to sell you. You have to tell us what the investment's going to be, and we'll tell you the paperwork that we need to buy it and own it in the IRA. But that's where the term self-directed comes from, but it's not a type of IRA. We have the same accounts that Fidelity or Wells Fargo Advisors has. We just allow you to invest in alternatives versus just traditional investments. Now, I kind of mentioned this. These are some shocking numbers from IRS audits, okay? If you look at the net worth of a person that has a retirement account, the higher the net worth of that individual, the more alternative assets they have in their retirement account. Okay, there's studies that show less than 5% of people with a net worth under $1 million hold an alternative asset of any kind. They just buy, hope, and pray in the stock market, and they really just don't know that there's other options. That is really the main thing. The ultra wealthy or the millionaires, they know that there's other investment options out there. They've done their research. They've been investing in alt since the mid 70s. When you look at people with a net worth over $1 million, they have 22% of their assets in their retirement account allocated toward alternative investments. And when you look at the ultra wealthy, those with a net worth of $30 million or above, nearly 50% of their assets are alternatives. That's not by chance, that's by intention. They understand that if you understand the alternative world, alternative assets like self-storage and real estate have cash flow, they're resilient, and oftentimes they appreciate. So when you add the component of multiple streams of income, assets that are tangible that you can drive by, touch, and feel, the rich and the wealthy understand that those are important assets to have in their retirement account so that they're not privy to all the ups and downs of the stock market having 100% of their assets tied to Wall Street. So now that we've kind of defined that you can own other types of investments inside of a retirement account, what are the types of accounts that you can, quote, self-direct to own those alternatives? Well, we have 6 different accounts here just at Directed IRA, all that can own real estate or own cryptocurrency or own interest into self-storage investments. These are the 6 plans that we have here at Directed IRA. We have personal plans, which consist of your traditional IRA and Roth IRA. And again, you can call it a self-directed traditional or a self-directed Roth, but that just means you have to tell us what the investment is. If you're self-employed, we have employer plans that can be self-directed as well, which would be your self-directed SEP IRA or the ultra powerful solo 401k. If you're a small business owner with no employees, this is probably the best vehicle on the planet. If you're not a small business owner, that's okay. I love the Roth IRA, and I'll talk a little bit about the Roth IRA here in a second. Or you can even self-direct non-retirement accounts here at Directed IRA. You can self-direct your health savings accounts. There's about 65% of Americans that have a HSA. A lot of it's through their company, or maybe they had it at their company back in the day and it's still kind of lingering out there. Back to the financial literacy person. A lot of people don't know they can even invest with an HSA. They think it's just a savings account. It's a great savings account because you make contributions to an HSA, you get a tax deduction, and then they take the money right back out to spend on their healthcare needs, which is fine. But our clients invest their HSA. I actually invest my HSA along with my Roth IRA. I do private loans to real estate flippers out of both those accounts. The real estate flippers pay interest to my HSA and my Roth IRA. I don't pay taxes on any of the income going to either of those accounts. And I can take the interest income out of my HSA to go buy glasses tax-free. So again, these are the things that I wish they taught us in school. They just don't. But again, we have self-directed plans that are non-retirement plans. We even have the equivalent of, I would say, a 529 plan, but that would be the Coverdell Education Savings Account. This is an account you set up for your kids or your grandkids. You put a little money in it. You direct it into all the investments of your choosing, alternatives included, and all the income made from those alternative investments go to the Coverdell, which can be distributed to pay for their education expenses tax-free. Tuition, books, computers, room and board, even your home internet bill can be paid with tax-free dollars out of your son or your daughter's Coverdell Education Savings Account. Wonderful, wonderful tools to allow us as taxpayers to escape taxation as an individual. You see, when I make an investment as Nate Hare, the taxpayer, I pay taxes on all of my income. If I invest through my IRA or my HSA or my son or daughter's Coverdell, I pay no taxes on the income. So some of the accounts will benefit me in retirement, but there's also accounts that you can utilize today and use tax-free income to pay for your health expenses and your education expenses. Now, if you do invest in alts and you do walk into investments, and this is where the Roth IRA becomes so powerful in our field. People talk about the self-directed Roth as if it's the only account that can be self-directed. And there's a lot of good reasons why it's not, but there's a lot of good reasons why the Roth IRA is so powerful. And if you're really trying to build real true wealth, investing in alts, you might want to decide to pay taxes before you grow the account. And this is where the Roth IRA comes into play. The Roth IRA might be one of the best wealth building tools that almost anybody can have. I have a 9-year-old with a $75,000 Roth IRA. Now, that is not because the 9-year-old is a superior investor. It's because her grandmother is a real estate investor and set up a Roth IRA for her when she was 4, paid her a modeling fee to put her on the book that she sold to her investors. And she's been investing her granddaughter's self-directed Roth with her own Roth to buy land in West Texas and subdivide the land and sell it off. And all the income flows back to grandma's Roth and granddaughter's Roth. Granddaughter has no idea that she's got a $75,000 Roth IRA that grandma's been building for her. So good job, grandma. Now, when you look at these accounts, okay, all of these accounts by definition are tax-exempt trusts, okay? That's the beautiful part about these accounts is that on any level, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, SEP, solo, HSA, or Coverdell, the accounts are trusts. We're the custodian of the trust, you're the owner of the trust. But when income comes back to the trust, there's no tax return file. That's why we have these wonderful vehicles. The IRS says as long as you invest through these trusts, we're not going to tax the gains. Now, we may tax the distributions if you're taking distributions from a traditional or a SEP IRA, or in some cases a 401k. But the income itself on the investments owned in these plans escape taxation. So the money that is inside of these plans grows much, much faster than your money grows as a taxpayer who has to pay taxes on an annual basis. Now, I've yet to meet anybody on this planet that can convince me they only need one of these plans, okay? I have clients that have 14 plans. I've got a client that set up a Roth for himself, a Roth for his wife, 3 Roths for his kids that are all working. They're teenagers, but they have summer jobs. They all have self-directed Roths. They have a solo K for their business. They have an HSA. They've got one Coverdell for their younger child who's under 18. They partner all these accounts, all these tax-exempt trusts together, and they invest in alternative assets, okay? The power is you want to set up as much tax-exempt accounts, tax-exempt trusts as possible to really shelter yourself from taxation from the IRS. So long story short, you can self-direct these 6 different plans, and I would really urge everybody to look at all the plans you may qualify for. And if you don't know, just give us a call, set up a call with one of my senior IRA account executives. They can kind of help facilitate that, or at least let you know what plans you might qualify for. But all 6 of these can own alternative investments. Now, how does it work to buy an alternative? This is where it just gets a little bit different. And it's not because the IRA is different that we have here. It's because buying real estate is different than buying a stock. Me doing a private loan to a real estate investor is different than buying a stock. Investing in self-storage is different than buying a stock. Most people are used to just logging in online, picking the stock they want and buying it. And then through the platform, Fidelity will just go buy it. Unfortunately, we don't have a platform to buy self-storage. We don't have a platform to buy real estate. So you still have to work through the nuts and bolts of the investment itself. But that's what we're good at Directed IRA, is channeling through those investments, because we fund, I don't know, thousands of investments a month for our 23,000 clients. But this is basically in a 3-step scenario how it works. First, you open an account, you open an IRA. You can do it online in 5 minutes. You just fill out a normal IRA application, include your ID, your account's open probably by the end of the business, end of that business day. Or you can book a call. I like people to book a call because you can ask your questions. You can tell the IRA account executive what you're investing in so they can kind of walk you through the process of what that investment's going to look like. But once you get the account open or your account's opened, then you fund the account. Okay, you got to put some money in there. You got to put some capital in there to invest. You can just make your annual contribution to the accounts, just like you make a contribution somewhere else. You could do a transfer. You could do an IRA to IRA transfer. That's very common with our clients. Let's say you've got a Roth IRA at Fidelity and you want to open up a Roth IRA here. Again, you can have as many Roth as you want. You open a Roth IRA here. You fill out a transfer form of how much you want transferred from your Fidelity account. We send that to Fidelity. They wire the funds over in 3 to 5 business days. Transfers aren't even reported to the IRS. You can transfer money between a Roth here and a Roth there as many times as you want throughout the year. Our clients like to move money back and forth between their Fidelity Roth and their directed Roth based on where they want their investments to be deployed. Or if you have an old 401k, old 403b, an old TRS or a TSP plan or a government 457 plan, those can be rolled into an IRA. Now, I always get this question, Nate, what if I'm still working at the company that set me up with my 401k? Chances are you can't move it while you're still employed, but you can always ask your employer if you have what's called in-service rollover options. In-service rollovers basically mean you can move some of the money out while you're still employed with the company that set up your 401k. It's usually reserved for people that have worked there for X amount of years, you're fully vested, and you're above a certain age. Sometimes they'll allow you to move the employer contributions out. But if you're still working at the company, don't get heartbroken that they say no. That's about 90% of 401k plans. They just won't let you move it until you leave the company. But if you leave the company and you have separation of service, it's an old 401k, that can most definitely roll into an IRA Fidelity or a self-directed IRA here at Directed IRA. So contribution, transfer, and or rollover, or combination of the three, that's how we get money in the self-directed IRA here. Then once you've decided what the investment is, okay, this is where we come along. We've got a 5-star transaction team that'll help walk you through the investment. You tell them what the investment is. They tell you the documents that we need. The most important thing I want to point out is that when you're directing your IRA to make an investment, nothing is in your name, the taxpayer. Because remember, nothing is owned by you. So if you ever looked at your stock certificate at Fidelity in your IRA, it doesn't say Nate Hare's the owner. It says the owner's Fidelity Investments for the benefit of Nate Hare's IRA. That's the legal owner. That's the name of the trust. When you set up an IRA with us, we give you that name. So if I set up a Roth IRA with Directed IRA, the vesting I use, the buyer that I use, is going to read Directed Trust Company, that's the custodian, for the benefit of Nate Hare Roth IRA, or Directed Trust Company, FBO, Nate Hare HSA. Okay, those are the names to the trust that you set up, and each trust is individual to you, so you're going to have a unique name. But this is the vesting that you're going to use on any investment. So say, for example, I'm going to buy a rental property. That's just an easy one for people to understand. If I'm going to go find a rental property I want owned in my Roth, I'm still going to do the legwork to find the property. I'm even going to do the legwork to negotiate the terms with the seller. But the buyer on the contract, if I want it owned by my IRA, the buyer is Directed Trust Company for the benefit of Nate Hare's Roth IRA. Okay. I send the contract to Directed IRA. They sign the contract as the buyer, send the contract back to the agent. And then what we do is essentially we're going to send the cash in your IRA directly to the third party. So let's say there's earnest money that needs to be given for $5,000. We don't give the $5,000 to you because that's a distribution. You don't want that. We send the $5,000 earnest money to the title company. And then we send the remaining funds to buy the property at closing. So essentially what we're doing is we're exchanging your IRA's asset of cash for an asset of real estate. It's not a distribution. It's an investment. You made the investment through your custodian. Okay, so nothing hits you as a taxpayer, and it's not treated as a distribution. And then when we close on the property, the title company sends the deed back to us and we hold it in the vault. So that if the IRS comes knocking and says, hey, what does Nate Hare own in his Roth IRA? Oh, he owns this property on 123 Main Street, right? Here's the deed. It shows that owner is directed trust company for the benefit of Nate Hare's Roth IRA. Now, the cool thing is once your IRA owns the investment, all the income from the investment, all the rents, all the lease income, even when I sell the property or my IRA sells the property, all the capital gain goes back to the IRA untaxed. No capital gains tax, no tax on the rent. So I can reinvest that money. I can buy another property. I could buy two properties. I could buy a bigger property. And I can keep reinvesting those dollars tax exempt. And the cool thing about my Roth is I can grow it to whatever amount that I can grow it to. And once I'm 59 and a half, I get tax-free distributions from that income for the rest of my life. I have a client that owns 12 rental properties right now. She owns 12 rental properties inside of her self-directed Roth. Okay, they're not owned by her, they're all owned by her Roth. Okay, we have deeds to all 12 properties. Every month, she's got a property manager in place. The property manager collects all the rents from the 12 properties, pays whatever little expenses there needs to be paid, but then a big check comes into her Roth IRA as income, and it's roughly about $25,000. She's 59 and a half, so she gets tax-free, penalty-free withdrawals for the rest of her life. So every month that rent comes to her Roth untaxed, and then she just takes a tax-free, penalty-free distribution of the rents to herself. The next month, another 25,000. The next month, another 25,000. And here's the cool part about it, where I see it every day with our clients. Even though she's taking over about $300,000 of distributions from her Roth IRA grows every single year because all the properties appreciate. They're in great areas. She's not tapping into the principle of the investment. She's just living off the cash flow. And when she dies, her two daughters will inherit all 12 properties through an inherited Roth IRA, and those 12 properties will continue to cash flow and appreciate for another 10 years, benefit to her kids. This is how the rich and the wealthy have invested through self-direction for many years. And again, this is why I think it's important to talk about this, not for yourself, but also for your kids or your grandkids, or leaving a legacy beyond your life here on this earth. So, all right, so let's go over a case study just so you can see this in real time. So this is a client of mine, Jerry Davis. Okay, Jerry bought a 4-unit property inside of his self-directed traditional. Okay, he probably wishes he would have done this in a Roth, but what Jerry had is he had very common what most people have. He had an old 401k at the company that he worked at. That 401k was all pre-tax, right? He put some money in as a contribution. He got a tax deduction. His employer matched. They got a tax deduction. So that really just means it's a pre-tax 401k. When you leave the company, that rolls into the pre-tax IRA, which is the traditional IRA. That's what most people have when it comes to IRAs. So Jerry rolled his 401k to us. We put it in a traditional IRA. Jerry went out and found a 4-unit property that he wanted to buy inside the 401k. Okay, or sorry, inside of the traditional IRA, and he negotiated a purchase price of $335,000. Okay, we closed on the property. The deed on the property shows the traditional IRA is the owner. He had us deploy $25,000 directly from the IRA to a contractor to do some work. Again, that's an investment expense. It's not a distribution to him. Okay, we're just paying for an expense on the investment. Okay. And initially, this investment was great. It was netting about $4,700 a month in rents. There's no loan on this property. This is just an all-cash deal. You can get loans on IRA properties, but we don't have time to go over that. But he bought this all cash, so minus expenses. His traditional IRA was netting about $4,700 a month. So if you divide that just into the purchase price, that's a 15.7 return on investment, not including appreciation. So we all know what happens with rents. Rents in 2019 are not that price anymore. Rents in the area continue to go up, especially if you're in a good area. So today that this property is worth $500,000. It now demands rents of $6,500 a month. So his new return on investment, because the purchase price doesn't change, it's locked at the $335 he bought it at, or his IRA bought it at. It's now 21.6%, and that's just on the rents alone. And it will continue to increase and increase every single year, as well as the appreciation. So this is where it really, where the tire meets the road when you talk about income producing assets that can also appreciate. If you throw that in a tax exempt account, I mean, this is where the real power in these self-directed IRAs come from. So all the income from the investment will flow back to the IRA. And again, it's not considered a contribution. Income is unlimited. Contribution is what Jerry takes out of his pocket and adds each year. But at this point, he's not adding anymore. He's just letting the money roll in from the investment income. So no limit on investment income or profit. You're only limited on how much you get to put in as an annual contribution. Now let's talk about what I do. Now, I like real estate, but I'm like 95% of our clients. I love real estate, but I'm not Jerry. I'm not out there door knocking. I don't have time to negotiate with sellers, but I meet a lot of savvy investors, right, that have investment experience, probably far greater than mine when it comes to real estate or self-storage. So I just put my money passively into their deals. Now, what I do is I just do hard money lending out of my Roth IRA and my HSA. And I wanted to put this in because there is power in partnering accounts together. You can use multiple accounts and bring them together to make the same investment. And this is what I do with my Roth IRA and my HSA. Okay. So this is a typical deal. I kind of rounded the numbers here, but one of the most recent deals, I had an investor friend need $100,000 to buy this eyesore in the neighborhood, property that was abandoned for 2 years. Nobody knew who the owner was. He was able to track down the owner who didn't even know they owned the property. It was one of those stories, right? So he was a savvy investor that kind of negotiated a really good deal to buy this property that was abandoned. So he needed $75,000 to buy it, and we held back $25,000 in escrow to rehab it. Now, I did not lend him the money. My Roth and HSA lent him the money. Okay. I negotiated the terms. I got to negotiate the terms that he would have to pay my retirement accounts, and he was happy to pay my retirement accounts 12% annual interest with 2 points up front. So really it's 14% interest for the first year. We structured it as an 18-month loan because again, he's just buying it and flipping it and then he's going to pay me back. So he didn't need it for more than 6 to 8 months max. But these are all dictated, all these terms are dictated on the promissory note. Okay, the promissory note is what my IRA, my Roth, and my HSA own. They don't own the deed; they own the paper on the property, which is the promissory note. Now, this is also in Texas, so I get a deed of trust, so I'm actually secured by the property. So it's a paper asset secured by property. Now, this is a great investment. The ARV, the after repair value, was $215,000, so there was a lot of equity in there. And these were the two lenders on the note. And I'm just showing this for conceptual purposes. Your investment doc might not be a note, but your vesting is always going to be the same. We have a lot of clients that invest through, other entities, like, and I don't know how you guys run the investments, James. If you run it through an LLC or something, that's pretty common. But if you're investing into somebody's LLC, then the subscriber on the LLC is going to read directed trust company for the benefit of your account that you want to use. On this investment, I used 75,000 for my Roth and 25,000 for my HSA. It was just two lenders on one note. So directed IRA sent 25,000 for my HSA and $75,000 to the title company when we closed. And the borrower just sends one check every month back to directed IRA. And they split that check 75-25 amongst my Roth and my HSA. Now, the reason why that's important is my Roth, I don't want to use until I'm 59 and a half, because that's when my distributions are tax-free and penalty-free to me. But the interest income that's split to my HSA, I can take it out the day it hits my HSA to go buy glasses or prescriptions or pay for my copays, completely tax-free. So I don't have to reach out of my back pocket off of my earnings to pay for my healthcare expenses. I just reach out on my self-directed HSA from the interest income coming from my borrowers. It's a great way to pay for current needs and set yourself up for retirement by bringing two accounts together that work differently when it comes to distributions. So I will say this, we've got 23,000 clients. Most of them invest in assets that are income producing and real estate based. Self-storage is a huge one. Okay, multifamily apartment buildings, commercial syndications. These are all investments clients gravitate towards. but none of them are finding the investment. That's the key thing. I didn't find this investment. The borrower found me, and we had met at some other event. So I trusted his work. Most of our clients are just investing passively and leveraging the experience of others to help their retirement accounts grow. And this is what you could do through either private lending, syndications, self-storage. This is how the rich and the wealthy are investing in these assets today. So I hope that kind of gave it to you in a nutshell. You know, what is a self-directed IRA? It's no different than an IRA at Fidelity. We just allow you to buy alternative investments. Our account agreement, when you set up an account, it just says invest in anything the IRS allows. You just got to tell us what the investment is. But the IRA itself is no different than an IRA at Fidelity or Charles Schwab. You find the investment or you tell us what the investment's going to be, and our investments team tells you the docs that we need. And then all you do is you sit back and you watch the income flow back into your IRAs. You track it on your online portal. And it's a great way to really diversify, I would say, outside of the stock market. I'm not going to bash the stock market. It's great, you know, in certain years, certain quarters. But it is important to understand that you can own some paper assets or some traditional assets through your Fidelity account, but you could also own alternatives through your directed IRA accounts. If you ever have any questions, just feel free to shoot me an email. It's nate.hare@directedira.com, or you could just scan that QR code and book a call with anybody on my team. They can help set up the account for you, give you the instructions on how to fund it, and then ultimately our investments team will help you deploy it for an investment. And if you do open an account or talk to one of them, make sure you use the code INVESTA. That saves you $150 off your first year annual fee. So that's all I got. I hope that was helpful to everybody. And I guess we got some time for some questions.
We do. Thank you so much for that discount for our attendees today. That's very kind. I find it fascinating that Americans have more money in their retirement accounts than in their bank accounts.
Oh, by far. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, we have enough money in retirement accounts to pay off the US debt. That's how much money is in retirement accounts.
Yes. And only 2% of all retirement accounts are self-directed into alt assets.
Yeah, about 2%. It's now 5%. That one slide I had was a little bit old, but it's only about 5% of all retirement accounts that own any alternatives. But again, you go up the ladder and you could see the ultra wealthy, they know what alternatives can do to their retirement account, because you could see the larger percentage of alts owned in those higher value retirement accounts.
Well, thank
And
you.
Fidelity and Charles Schwab will never tell you that, by the way. So, but I'm going to tell you.
And one of the reasons it's so low is because they want you to think that that's the only thing you can do with your retirement account.
Yes, and again, I'm not picking on them, but they do have a vested interest to have. Okay, they do have a vested interest to have your money kept there. So I do hear a lot of, I'll call them funny stories. They're not horror stories, but you know, I had a lady just a couple months ago tell me, you know, I made the mistake of calling my Fidelity guy and telling him I want to self-direct before calling you, Nate, because what they did is they told me, oh, you don't want to self-direct, it's too risky, without even asking her what the investment was. They just said self-directed IRAs are too risky. But she's a real estate investor. So she said, you know what, I'll dictate my risk that I'll take by finding my own investments. And, you know, he proceeded to tell her, well, you know, if you're going to do it, it's a really complicated process and there's all this paperwork. And she goes, look, enough of the waterboarding. Just send me the documents that I need and send them to me by 5 p.m. True story. So he sends her one document. She fills it out, sends it back. She calls him the next morning. She goes, okay, what are the other documents I need to fill out? She goes, oh, that was the only one. She goes, that was the hard process you wanted to keep me away from. So again, I know it's not all situations, but you just got to be wary of like people that are selling you things inside your retirement account and have a vested interest to keep you where they have you. Because I mean, they're making commissions and broker fees and things like that. But it's just important to know you can do both. You can invest there and you can invest here. But you know, there's a lot of positives, I would say, to the investments we hold here when you talk about the tangibility, the cash flow, the appreciation. Throw that in a tax exempt account and just, you know, you'll see the difference.
And the reason there's no tax on either the cash flow or on your return is because you paid the tax before you put it into the account.
Well, either way, so if I invest with a traditional IRA, I actually haven't paid the tax because I got a tax deduction when I put it in. But the traditional IRA still is a tax exempt trust. So that money I put in there, the income's not taxed on the investment. I just have to pay a tax as an individual when I take a distribution. So this is again where I've always been a numbers guy. I played baseball. I was like calculating my batting average at the age of 6. So numbers just were very easy to me. So I never understood the concept that you wanted to get the tax deductions in your working years to defer the taxes to your non-working years. That's what somebody with a that will tell you a traditional IRA is better than a
Right.
Roth says. Is, no, you want
Right.
your deductions in your working years. And I go, but I don't want to be poor in my retirement years. I want to live, I want to have large distributions so I can live the life that I'm used to. But then also, I don't know what my tax bracket's going to be by the time I retire. And also, if I start with $100,000 as a contribution to a traditional IRA, and I grow it to $1 million through my investments, aren't I still paying more in tax because I'm paying it now in a larger amount? So
Yes.
that's what the IRS loves. I will tell you, the IRS loves us to have large traditional IRAs because they get 30% of every distribution you take. They hate when we grow Roth IRAs. So because again, they can't have their hand in the bucket, but guess what? It's the playbook, it's the legal playbook that they set forth. So I use it to my advantage.
Questions from our participants, either in the chat or raise your hand. I don't see any questions in the Q&A right now. There's one that's been added. All I have to do is say it, and there it comes. So we have Dennis asking, on the HSA, when you're looking to retire, what's the exiting look like when you're looking to withdraw money? Is
Yep,
there a
great
certain age
question.
it needs to be?
So with IRAs, I just want to compare the two. IRAs roll into inherited IRAs upon death. Your HSA is a little bit different because it's just a different type of account. It's not a retirement account. So you have a couple options. If you get to the end of the road with an HSA, and let's just say you pass away, okay? The HSA, if you have a surviving spouse, they can take that into their own HSA. If it's not the spouse, the remaining HSA funds just get distributed to whoever your beneficiaries are. Now, prior to death, if you've got money in an HSA and you're past retirement age, you can they do allow you to take money out penalty free or tax free after a certain age. So you can use it almost like a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA to take money out past retirement age. But when you die, it just passes either to the spouse as an HSA or just distributed to your beneficiaries as a cash distribution.
Does that satisfy your question, Dennis? Let us know if you have another follow-up question on that. Nate, when
And if
we
you
were
need a
at
beneficiary, I'll give you my social security number.
what is the age he's asking?
The age 59 and a half.
So at the Alt Asset Summit, which was a great one here in Scottsdale that your team put on about 2-3 weeks ago, I believe it was at one of your speakers who was talking about using an HSA. He said, you can make the contributions and then not reimburse yourself for your health expenses.
Yeah.
And just keep all of your receipts so that if you get in a cash crunch at some point in time, you can turn in the receipts and reimburse yourself. But in the meantime, you can let the balance grow in your HSA, and your HSA is then able to own more assets. I thought that was brilliant.
No, yeah, it's one of the cool tricks with an HSA. That's actually what I do. I kind of get conceptually that I can take money out through the, through a distribution to pay for healthcare expenses or dental or vision. But here's what the HSA allows you to do. As long as you have an HSA and the high deductible health plan, the health insurance that allows you to have the HSA, as long as you have those in play, let's say I've got all that set up between now and the next 10 years, I can make tax deductible contributions to my HSA to give it some capital. I can invest it. And meanwhile, I'm going to have some health related expenses. Now I can take money out of my HSA to pay those expenses, but that just diminishes the capital that I have to invest. And if I'm investing the way I like to invest, I'm making interest income and I'm compounding that interest income. I want to keep as much money in there as possible, compounding on itself. So what I can do, and this is what the HSA allows you to do, is I can just pay out of my pocket those expenses and just save all the receipts. 10 years down the road, I can just take a distribution to reimburse myself for every expense I paid for 10 years. And at that point, I already paid the expense. So I'm just reimbursing myself. So I get to use that tax-free distribution for whatever I want. I've had clients take their wife to Europe on a tax-free, penalty-free HSA distribution. I had a client buy a new Cadillac with an HSA distribution, again, because they're reimbursing themselves. And here's the interesting part is the HSA often gets confused with the FSA, which is called the flexible spending account.
I hope you were going to touch on that.
Oh yeah. And people know what I mean when I say flexible.
Yeah.
The flexible spending account is not a self-directed account for it. And flexible, they when I read tax code, you'll learn that they try to trick you with the name sometimes. So the flexible spending account is not flexible at all. You have to use your money by the end of the year or they take it from you. That's not flexible. The HSA is truly the flexible health account because you don't lose the money. It's not a use it or lose it plan. You can reinvest it and even reimburse yourself back for prior year's expenses. So they try to trick you with the name. And one more fun fact, I do love the HSA. I'm glad you brought it up. One more fun fact, even your advisors don't know this. One time in your life, you can fund your HSA with a tax-free transfer from one of your traditional IRAs. Whew. Let me repeat that. You can move money from your taxable traditional IRA to your tax-free HSA. So now I already know what you evil rich people are thinking. How much money can I move over? It takes the place of a contribution. So right now, contributions, I believe, for HSA, if you've got a family health insurance plan, means it just covers you and another person. Your max contribution to an HSA is $8,950, I believe. So if I want to move $8,900 from my traditional IRA to my HSA, I can do that once in my lifetime. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, let's say I have a health-related expense. If my emergency bucket is my traditional IRA and I take $8,900 out of that, I pay taxes on $8,900. And if I'm under 59.5, I pay the 10% penalty. If it's a health expense, why wouldn't I just move $8,900 over to my HSA and then take a tax-free, penalty-free distribution to pay for that same expense? So again, tricks to the world I wish I knew about 20 years ago.
Right. So we have to be on a mission to make sure that all young people learn these things and employ them, or if they're 50 or 60 years of, well, gosh, 50 or 60 years of working, maybe, or of their wealth building.
Yeah. Right.
Well, we have reached the top of the hour. I don't see any more questions that are open, but I know, Nate, that you and your team are open to questions and you've shared your information. And of course, we are as well here at Investa Capital. And we will be sharing the recording of the webinar. We thank you so much for participating. And thank you so much, Nate and James, for sharing this valuable information.
Thank you very much. Absolutely.
How to grow your assets, how to grow your wealth.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all.